Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Done Radio Hour. This week we've got a new Meet the Cast when Katie met Karen. Before we begin, we want to thank Circle 270 Media, which this podcast is a part of. I have to thank Mad Lab Theater, where we perform every month, second Saturday of the month at 5 p.m. Our next show, Saturday, December 14th. It's our holiday-themed show. You won't want to miss it. Have some new music for it. We also want to thank our parent network, It's All Been Done Presents, found at IABDpresents.com. Check out It's All Been Trekked Before, our Star Trek Rewatch podcast. We are now in the next generation, have recently started that. So if you're waiting for us to get through the original series, first of all, what's wrong with you? The original series is great. Well, some episodes are great. You should definitely watch it because the next generation owes its life to the original series. But now, if you just wanted to wait for the next generation, we're there. So you can join us, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and follow us on social media at IABD Presents. Not only does It's All Been Done Radio Hour have its own Facebook page, but It's All Been Trekked Before also has its own Facebook page, separate from the networks. So check those out. Now enjoy It's All Been Done Radio Hour. Meet the cast.
Hi, I'm Katie Boissoneault.
Hi, I'm Karen Perta.
And we're going to be interviewing each other.
Yes. All right.
Cool. I'm excited to do this. I feel like I haven't worked so much with you, so it'd be neat to learn more.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I see you like once a month on show day and then sort of on Tuesday evening rehearsals on Skype. And
yeah, right.
That's it.
That's about it.
So
it's crazy.
So did you just finish school?
Yes, I did. I graduated this May.
Awesome. And what was your major?
I did theater and film, and my minor was in fashion. So yeah, I just went hard with the arts.
Awesome. So, and you just started a new job?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I'm working at, for BAS Broadcasting. I'm working at the Sandusky radio station part-time, so
awesome.
Really cool.
So what do you do there, behind the scenes?
It's really cool. So I'm doing, my favorite part is probably like the voiceover work. Like I do spots, like different, companies will submit like a little commercial, and then I'll get to record it, and then I'm also learning how to like mix, like put the music on and adjust the audio. So it's been really cool. And I've also done some of the graphics for the social media posts. I get to go out on remote broadcast to like special events, and also I get to like all the community events that they send in. I sort of like organize and format so then it all looks cohesive, and then it's like, okay, September 14th, what's going on today? And you can just check it out, see what's going on for that day of the week. So
awesome. Yeah. So it sounds like your IABD background probably helped you transition into some of that.
It really has. Yeah, it's crazy. I probably got more experience from IABD than I did for my actual school, because we did voice work and stuff, but I sort of say I feel like I'm real life Holly Harper, except my life isn't sad now.
Yes, that's awesome.
I'm like, hi folks, I'm Katie Boissoneault, and no, but it's funny.
And so Holly Harper was voted favorite
for the March Madness that Dallas does with the characters. That was exciting. I didn't expect that, to be honest.
And that was the first time we've had a female win.
Yeah, seriously. So that was extra cool. Holly just came out of nowhere. It's because she's been around the other years too. It's not like it's a new character. So I think that I was extra pleased that, oh wow, I must have done something this year right,
Awesome.
Yeah. You are also going to school.
I am doing my PhD in speech and hearing science at Ohio State.
That is so exciting. I'm sure that's translated a lot into Radio Hour.
Actually, yeah. So my area of research interest is basically vocal tract physiology. So how do all of the parts of your throat move in the context of things like speech, voice, and swallowing? So it could be, how do you help a person with a stroke to swallow better who's lost part of their throat? Or other applications could be how do heavy metal singers scream and go on tour and not kill their voices.
I've always wondered that. That's so cool.
And that is definitely applicable to all the crazy voices that you hear in the characters on this podcast.
So one thing I was going to ask you, with that vocal background, how do you go about preparing for new characters or roles that you have?
That's a good question. So I do have a lot of kind of weird sounds and weird things that I'm aware of, and sometimes it's I'll probably never use that. I'll probably never need to speak on inhalation or anything like that. But then you get the audition packet and it's an Enra, a smoke demon, and the smoke demon dies by getting water thrown on it, and it's it's, I don't know, evaporating or getting extinguished or whatever. How do you convey that vocally? Maybe this weird sound I never thought would be useful could be used for that character. So that part's really fun.
That's cool. I love that voice that you did, by the way. It was really cool. I probably would have just drawn a blank, like, coming up with an idea for that voice. So
I actually my favorite characters to do are the ones that sound nothing like my own speaking voice.
Yeah. That's actually one thing I was going to ask. I listened to your other Meet the Cast this morning just to try and, like, think of more questions. And, like, in that Meet the Cast, you were sort of a newer member. And you said your, like, favorite character so far was Cam, because you haven't really, like... It was a lot of, like, one-off characters, and that's the one you developed. But now I'm curious, like, what is your favorite character now that you've been with us longer?
Well, I love it when I get to be, like, the alien or the monster or whatever the weird thing is that sounds nothing like me. So that's my favorite, and I wish some of those characters had a way to return. I know Enra, for example, I think is coming back at some point in this season of Daniel Kravitz, because it was, like, weakened, but it wasn't technically dead. You know, it's hard to have a character like Grezit, for example, that has like an awesome off-the-wall voice be, you know, a main part of a cast. So some of them, for example, Meat and Julep in Spaced, I played Meat, and because those voices and those characters went over well, they were intended as one-offs. And we got another episode with them, but I don't know that those crazy voices, it's hard for them to elevate to the point of, like, you know, regular segment status, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that totally does. It's like, Grezit's kind of like not a million, but to have a main character who has such a peculiar
ridiculous voice.
Yeah. Cool.
So, yeah. So I guess I didn't ask you, like, at this point, what is your favorite character?
That's hard to say. I mean, like, obviously, Holly Harper is, like, always been up there, but I kind of want to say Tokolati because she has, like, had the most, like, longevity, and I remember, like, when I got the audition packet, it was kind of, like, she was really boring, and she always got cut off.
Exactly.
So just from then to, like, where she is now, where I feel like she has such a rich, like, plot in the whole show, and, like, she's sort of up and coming now. It's cool to see how far she's come. Yeah,
exactly. She has evolved. I remember Tokolati was a ironic name for Takalati, and that she always got cut off and, like, didn't say anything.
Yeah.
But now that's not really the case. Like, she's developed into a, you know, real character with a real story and actually says things now.
Yeah, and even, like, Kake, who, like, was sort of, you know, sexist. Like, now I feel like even he values her, like, voice and opinion. So it's like, what a, you know, 180 for, like, both of them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a valuable part of the segment at this point.
Yeah.
And, like, even when are we allowed to talk about spoilers? Even when, like, the Thrifty got blown up.
Yeah.
You know, she was in a good spot to get promoted and go on and have a career and not just be this person who was sidelined anymore.
Yeah, and it's, like, admirable, I think, that, you know, she still wants to stick with the people, like, even though she's had a trying time with, like, you know, the Thrifty. She's had her ups and downs with some of those characters, but it's like, you know, now she's with Kake, and I feel like I don't know where the story's going because I usually am not in on the spoilers until, like, I read them, but, like, I feel like they're kind of going to work their way back up, you know, from this, like, ground zero that they're at in this abandoned space station, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another role of yours that I really loved, I don't know if it's out on the podcast yet, but I think it was a Valentine's Day episode you did versus Bad Rap, and you sang and Bad Rap rapped, and then you rapped, and then Bad Rap sang. I particularly enjoyed your rapping. I was pleasantly surprised.
Thank you. It was so funny. I was, like, preparing for that like crazy because I was like, I knew that was so out of, like, what anyone expected of me, which I enjoyed because I like doing the singing roles, but I was like, you know, I feel like Smith can bring it, and she's definitely, like, one of my favorite, like, new characters that I have because I was like, I don't know, I'm curious to see where, like, her story goes. You know, it's like she spits bars just like Bad Rap. Okay, so I know, like, I don't write anything for the show, so I was just curious on, like, what your thoughts, like, for your characters, where'd you like to see them go next, I guess?
I know Cam actually does have an arc planned, and she used her money to buy Pimmer Labs. With the sort of parallel universe thing we've got going on, she's appeared in Packer and Ratcliffe, and I know she actually does have a more complicated story arc coming up for the second half of next year, so I'm actually really excited about that. And as for my other characters, Andy and Mystery Dream Team, I would like to see us, I guess, be able to do more with that segment, because at this point we do it once a year for Halloween. But, you know, maybe as other segments wrap up or go on hiatus or whatever, maybe eventually we'll be able to do more with those two characters. I think those are the two most developed characters. And that's the other problem, I think, too, with characters with crazy, crazy voices, is the most interesting thing about them is the way they sound, but sometimes they're kind of one-dimensional. They're just the alien or the monster or whatever, the big bad or the sidekick of the big bad in that particular episode.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So it's kind of hard to like develop that, but I have no idea when Anenra's coming back, but
I'm excited.
Like, I don't know if it could be a take on Buffy, like I don't know, do you know Buffy the Vampire Slayer? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, the late seasons with the first, where like you can reduce the first, but you can't completely eliminate it. Oh, so it's like you can't fully defeat it, so it's always this kind of like looming threat, this presence. Yeah.
I like that. I feel like it's kind of set up to maybe even go that way too, mm-hmm. So I don't know.
Come on, Nick.
Yeah, right.
Write me some more. Yeah, keep it going.
Is there a segment that you'd like to be in at all, or a segment that you'd like to have a larger character in that like lasts?
Top Notch is one of my favorites, mm-hmm. and Cam's primary arc is going to get developed in that, and I've already had appearances in Packer and Ratcliffe, so with that same character. So I'm pretty happy with where that's going. Because I think I would say Packer and Ratcliffe and Top Notch are probably my top two personal favorite segments. I think at this point I'm looking forward to the things that I know are coming up before too long. So, and what about you? Are there any segments that you would like to branch out into more? Are there any ideas you have for yourself that, like, of a character that maybe hasn't appeared in an audition packet, but do you have any ideas?
I really like Packer and Ratcliffe, so that was like maybe one that I thought of, like, oh, I've never really been a big or significant part, but I kind of like the It's All Been Theater that we do on occasion, like the fairy tales. So I'd like to find like an audition in that one. That would be fun, like a parody on like a princess or something.
I was gonna say, I think you'd make a great princess character or something like that.
That's what I thought too. But like the, which is hilarious, so I'm not sad at all. But like a lot of the princesses that have been in it so far have been like kind of ugly.
Ugly or disgusting or like,
yeah. But I'm looking forward to like maybe if there's an opportunity where there's like a parody of a classic sounding princess, I feel like that's something that I could like probably do pretty well.
And she was trying to save the prince or something like that.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be fun. And that's another one, It's All Been Theater, that we've done a handful of times, but it's not one of the ones in the main rotation, but we're doing it more and more often.
And I feel like it's kind of like a show stealer sometimes. Like sometimes it's like one of my favorite segments, like the one with the three brothers. I was just laughing so hard when they did that, and I was like, that's something that I want to be, you know, a part of sometimes.
That's the one that had like the gross princess in it.
Yeah, I did. It was funny.
I was an aunt or something like that, and I think one of the very first episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that one definitely has some opportunities for like weird, colorful voices and weird characters and stuff. Cause really you could take it in kind of a Shrek type of direction where you just have all these random fairy tale characters
like
telling all over, sort of telling and retelling a version of a fairy tale story.
Yeah, and we really kind of have like a universe set up where everyone lives together anyway in like these different dimensions, so I feel like it wouldn't be too far off to have like, oh, all these fairy tale characters are just together, and yeah, that
would be fun.
One thing I think that you mentioned was that you liked anime and that you were a gamer.
Historically, yeah.
Yes, historically. So I don't know if that's still true, but I thought it'd be interesting to ask, like, if there was like an anime or like a video game that you would like want to be a voice actor for.
Well, my favorite anime and probably favorite story ever told is Full Metal Alchemist, the canon manga version. But that is like a perfect story that has been concluded and wrapped up in a perfect way. So there's not really any opportunity for that. I would say really just watching anime is what made me want to be part of IABD in the first place and explore what being a voice actress is like. Mm-hmm. It would be fun to do, combat sounds or something like that for video games, but, you have to, like, definitely have connections to get into that line of work. I don't play video games nearly as often as I used to, but it's definitely part of my inner nerd and appreciation for, the stuff that we do. Yeah. So, have you historically been into anime or video games in any capacity?
Yeah, actually I have. I feel like I appreciate both. I just started like watching like Naruto when I was younger.
Oh,
I watched it again.
Yeah.
I love Naruto, and I like always liked Tamari. That she's just kind of like a smaller character in the series, but I always liked her, and yeah, that sort of is what made me look up like voice actors and voice acting. I always love the Mario series as well, like for video games. It's not really like hardcore, but like Princess Peach is always my girl, so that's like another opportunity where I was like, oh, that would be cool. Could you imagine just voice acting?
That should be your Isalban character, except like Princess Peach is like some version of Mario or something like that.
Yeah, it's like the Super Princess Peach game. That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so one thing you mentioned in your Meet the Cast was like incorporating like opera into so I was gonna ask, because sometimes it's hard to like keep up on all the series, but has anything been done with opera yet?
Nope.
So I still feel like we need it.
And that's another thing that I'm into is I love musical theater and musical theater singing. I'm a voice teacher and everything like that, and some of my favorite songs to perform are songs that flip qualities, and we don't have any sort of character that does that in any capacity, so I don't know how you would work that in, but that's something that I would like to do.
Yeah, I liked your ideas. Like, I think it was something like the Top Notch Tangler where there could be like a villain like they sing like
it could be bad, it could be all kinds of like different voices or whatever, and has some like weird sonic waves that I don't know kill people or something like that. I don't know. Maybe that's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Are there any other like segments that you wish had like a musical? I know we've sort of branched out into more musical things.
We have. What have we done so far? We've done Universe Journey quite a bit. We've done Packer and Ratcliffe. We've done Top Notch. Daniel Kravitz had the Christmas episode that was musical. Some of the newer segments haven't, like Mystery Dream Team, It's All Been Theater hasn't.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe it could be like a Monsters, Inc. musical.
That would be fun. Monsters like singing too. That'd be cool.
Yoey does a pretty awesome job singing as Grezit, so I don't think that would be that hard to put together.
Yeah, I feel like people would be up for the challenge, really. That'd be cool.
Or if it was like, Muppet Babies or something like that, and your princess voice was like the nanny or whatever, and she was surrounded by, I don't know, a bunch of different monsters or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know how you would develop that storyline, but
yeah, seriously, I need like a writer to just like take all of our ideas and just change them into something that's like tangible.
There was an episode of Space Dirt that Jimmy cast me in for one of our special shows, and it was, I forget what the character's name was, but it was like, she is the normal in the group, and I was like, oh, come on. Those are, I don't want to say boring, but it's like, I don't want to just use my speaking voice. I want to be what the weird thing is. But it was a segment with like 3 other weird voices, so you had to have somebody that sounded halfway normal.
Yeah, right. Right. That makes sense. So, is there any character that you have right now that you would like to have like a song?
Any of them, really. Cam, Andy, some new monster character, and trying to like sing in equality with that would be a really fun challenge. Cool. And Enra, because of the way the voice is, couldn't be like, you can't match pitch with that voice. No. At least not with all the sounds in it. But yeah, no, I'm up for whatever challenge. So, and do you want to do more singing and more rapping and stuff?
Yeah, actually.
With other characters?
That would be cool. I would, Takalati has, Smith has. I don't know, like...
Takalati hasn't rapped, though.
That's true. She has not rapped. That would be interesting, because she's so, like... Or maybe, like, because she's so obsessed with, like, the 70s, and, like, she keeps mentioning that. Like, maybe some sort of, like, 70s, like,
if she, like, sang Cher karaoke or something like
that. Yeah. Yeah, just something that's, like, because all of her songs have been, like, heavy or, like, uplifting. So it might be kind of funny to, like, have, like, a song that's, like, not so, like, weighty, you know. I enjoy the, like, emotional stuff, too, but it would be fun to, like, sing something that's more of, like, comedy for Takalati. And also, like, Holly Harper, I don't know how you would even, like, incorporate singing into her life, but, like, I don't know. She hasn't sung yet, so.
And her voice is kind of, like, so sing-songy already.
Yeah, right.
That I'm sure you could make it work if you wanted to.
Yeah, I don't know where you would go with that, but
I would like
ideas.
I would like Takalati to just do karaoke in some full-out imitation that sounds like nothing like her, you know, and some other crazy voice, you know what I mean? Like, she's like cool. A wild woman when she gets drunk and, like, goes to karaoke. That would be very entertaining.
Yeah, because she's had, like, moments of, like, I feel like when she talks about the 70s, that's where she's, like, the least uptight.
Yeah.
I mean... Yeah, she's like fun, but I think like that might be something funny to explore too. Is like what happens on like 70s karaoke night? Like why does she love the 70s so much? I want to know. I'm the voice actress, and I want to know. So this is sort of off the topic of like radio hour, but is there a certain like skill or that you'd like to learn or improve on or work on?
Spanish. I lived in Buenos Aires for a month last year. My Spanish got better. Instead of speaking like 1.5 languages, I maybe speak like 1.7 languages, but I'm definitely not good enough to call myself fluent.
That's cool.
But that's, you know, a work in progress. So what about you? Now that you're graduated and everything, are there any, you know, any other school-related or not school-related things that you want to do with yourself?
I always have loved, like, the performing arts, like, voice and things of that nature. I'm pretty, like, one-dimensional. I, like, love all things, like, arts. But I think I'd love to, like, be a better, like, makeup artist or drawer, like, something that's, like, using my hands rather than, like, you know, my voice or my movement, like.
Cool. And would you want to do stage makeup or, like, scary makeup or all of it?
All of it just, like, really interests me. I'm, like, one of those people, I love to, like, watch YouTube, like, makeup artists, whether it's, like, glamorous or, like, scary or just, like, fun Halloween idea. Like, I just love to watch it, so I'd love to be able to, like, do it, too.
Awesome. Yeah, Dallas can make people look like they were in a car accident.
I know. I saw their, like, pictures on social media. I was like, that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. And Mary Sink around Mad Lab can do some pretty awesome monster makeup and stuff like that.
That would be awesome. Yeah, I've never, like, I've just done my own, like, stage makeup for, like, shows, but it's never been anything, like, outrageous. It's always just, like, simple, like, blush, lipstick, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Things of that nature. So one of your questions for the next person to meet the cast was what's your number one thing on your bucket list? So I wanted to like ask you the same thing.
I've actually kind of recently had an opportunity to do a lot of bucket list stuff. I don't think I care if I ever go skydiving or anything like that. Probably my bucket list would be to finish the rest of my travel list, which is still pretty long.
Yeah.
In the United States, I still got Alaska and Hawaii to go. Still haven't been to Australia, haven't been to Africa. Want to go to Thailand. That's still my bucket list priority at this point, is still chipping away at my travel list.
Yeah.
So. And what about you? What is on your bucket list?
Sort of similar. I love to travel. Not to like backtrack, but have you been to every other state besides the ones that you said?
Pretty much. I haven't been to like North Dakota or Kansas, like, or Nebraska, some of the, I guess, sorry guys, flyover states, you know, but pretty much all the other ones that I've wanted to go to mainland U.S. I have, actually except Maine. I want to go to Acadia National Park in Maine. Haven't been quite that far north, but last year I went on a 9,500 mile road trip, so I got a lot of ground covered.
Oh, that's so cool.
So
yeah, I would love to travel as well. I think like maybe on the top of my list, like I think it would be neat to go everywhere that I know that my ancestors have gone. Like there's like 3 on my mom's side and 3 on my dad's side. So I'd love to be able to like say I visited all those countries.
So where are your ancestors from?
So my dad's side, they're French. So like some are from France, some are from like Canada, and I've been to both. So I like got that one. French, Norwegian, and American Indian.
Oh, wow.
So there's those. And then on my mom's side, it was mostly English and then German and Scottish. So I thought it would be neat to sort of like travel everywhere that like my ancestors are from and then sort of go from there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, this summer I still have distant cousins who live in Italy.
Cool.
But I'm actually eligible. So Italian law has what they call, which translates to law of the blood. And I'm actually eligible to become an Italian citizen by descent. So I'm actually I'm actually in the process of getting all my paperwork together. Italian citizenship law is completely different from the US. Like in the US, obviously if you're born here, regardless of where your parents came from, you're a citizen. That is not the case in Italy.
Really?
Really, yeah. So if you're born there, it doesn't make you an Italian citizen. But if you're not born there and you can prove you are Italian by descent, and there's some restrictions on it, but you can obtain an Italian passport.
So I was in it like sort of in the travel vein, because you seem to have been like so many places. Is there a favorite place that you've ever been?
I've been asked that a lot, and I'm always like, favorite city, favorite nature place, like what kind of place?
Like where should I go? I guess maybe, city. Let's say city.
Yeah, because it really depends what you like. Like some people like nature, or they like tropical weather, and that's what they want to do with their time off. Or, some people are foodies and they like museums and stuff like that. Cities. So I've only been to England and Italy in Europe. And when I went to Japan, I actually didn't go through Tokyo, which I'm actually not sorry that I did. I actually don't love like the super big giant cities, but I love the ones that have culture and still also good food. Like this summer, I went to Matera in Italy, which is the 2019, World Cultural Center or something like that. And it's a modern city with an old city underneath it, because literally until like 1952, they had people living there in caves in the side of the hill.
Wow.
I love Venice and Florence. Not a huge fan of Rome. In the United States, probably San Francisco is my favorite city because it's the most scenic. And there's pretty, and there's nature, and there's wine country, and there's redwoods not so far away, but then there's museums and culture and that kind of stuff too. I loved Buenos Aires. I lived there for a month. So, those are some of my favorite cities. And in Japan, I was in Osaka, which I really liked. Did you get to study abroad?
I did, yeah. I studied abroad. Miami had this thing called like a J term, and like if you're not taking classes or studying abroad, you pretty much have like almost like early December to like late January off.
Awesome.
So, but I took classes, so I got to go for about 3 weeks in Paris. I did a study abroad there, and it was, it ended up working out because it was like film centered. It was like we did a lot of things that related to film. Mm-hmm. That was a really great experience, and
I haven't been to Paris. What did you think of Paris?
I enjoyed it. It was, I'm not from a place where you like take subways and like public transportation. So I kind of enjoyed that because I think I'm someone who likes that sort of thing, and just like navigating around, like there were definitely some parts where it like wasn't as glamorous as, there are some places that were just as beautiful as everyone says, but then there were others that it just seemed a lot more humble. And I liked going out. We went to the Loire Valley, and we got to see these like castles. I think it was the Chateau de Chenonceau. It was like it went over like a river. It was like built over a river. It was so neat, and
awesome.
I was like,
I haven't been to France.
Yeah, it was cool. That was like top of my bucket list. So it was neat that not only did I have an opportunity to do things for my major, but I got to check off something on my bucket list. It was kind of cool to okay, what's my next #1 travel destination?
Yeah, it sounds like with your heritage, you're a large percentage French, so. Do you have any non-travel related bucket list stuff?
I'd love to get a paid speaking role in a film or a television. It doesn't even have to be big, but that's my next on my bucket list, is to be in a film where I say something, yeah, and then that's definitely on my list. I think I've always wanted to be in a film, and then saying something to boot would be
not
so
just
cool.
An extra in the background or whatever. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
What did you ask? Do you remember your question from the end of your Meet the Cast episode?
I think mine was for Joe, and I think it was something along the lines of movies, because I know he likes movies. I think I might have asked, if you could be in a movie that has already been released, what role would you have wanted that was already, out?
Yeah.
That was my question for him.
And you're happy with anything, just as long as you get to say something.
Yeah, it'd be cool. I think if I just watched this movie recently, so I probably am biased because I just watched it, but I love the movie Coraline. Is there any sort of movie or musical that's already released that you would want to be in?
I'd love to be Kathy in the last 5 years.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure.
It's a Jason Robert Brown show. I think the movie's on Netflix with Anna Kendrick and Jeremy Jordan.
Oh, let's check it out.
It's the story of a couple, and from his perspective, it's the beginning of the relationship forward, and from her perspective, it's the end of the relationship backward, and their stories intersect and they meet in the middle.
Oh, that's neat.
It's pretty cool.
That's a cool concept.
Yeah.
And one thing that you mentioned is that you try to make your voices distinct from each other. And I know that's kind of challenging. How do you go about, coming up with a new idea? Are there any people who you look to for inspiration, or, what is your process?
My personal process is more knowing what I know about the physiology and what that's going to do to the sound. So, for example, take larynx height. When your larynx is up, it makes your vocal tract shorter, and it makes the sound brighter. So just for, I guess, demonstration purposes, I'll take one vowel. So E, that's my regular speaking voice. But if I raise my larynx, E, it gets brighter, it gets more childlike, just that sound alone. E, you could be more cartoonish, you could be more unintelligent, etc. Yeah. If you lower your larynx, it makes the vocal tract longer and it makes the sound darker. E. So you could sound sad, you could sound darker. One of my so for example, if it's a small red monster, then I'm going to do some probably variation with a high larynx, and I might add some other stuff to it. I forget what show it was. The monster's name was Guy Gax. Was it? I think it was May. It was the roulette. The IABD roulette show.
Yeah.
I imagined that monster as a giant rock, kind of slow-moving rock monster. So I used low larynx and I added slack or vocal fry so it would sound crackly, and then you got that.
Oh, cool.
So I kind of, first I have to know, okay, what is the character? What kind of, maybe would it sound like? And then I go from there. So especially with an Enra, well, it's a smoke demon. So then that would make sense to go and sound like you're asphyxiating. I definitely have voices and voice actors that I admire, but especially when you're creating something from scratch, I just want to know as much about that character as I can to come up with the best sound.
Yeah. One thing that was cool that you mentioned in your Meet the Cast was, I thought it was cool how you wanted to be Jack from Cinderella.
Oh, that was the 3-year-old me wanted to be Jack from Cinderella. Yeah, I didn't ever care about the princess. I loved the little critter or whatever the sidekick was. And I still love critters and I still love animals. And maybe that's why those are kind of my favorite things to voice.
Yeah. Do you have any ideas for Radio Hour and what you would like to see happen? Just it's kind of a broad question, but
I would like a way to I think this show started out in a comic book shop.
Oh, yeah.
And the move to Mad Lab was good and necessary, but I don't know if we've, in the process, become a step away a little bit from the nerdy roots of it.
Oh, yeah.
So those people I think that might appreciate our show the most might not necessarily be the ones that hang around downtown and are theater goers.
Yeah.
So I don't know if, and I'm not on like the pub team or the behind the scenes stuff, and I know people put countless hours into all that stuff, but I don't know if there's a way to sort of tap into that. And I think there's something to be said for we get downloads, and not to perpetuate stereotypes or anything, but sometimes people who like quote nerd culture or whatever, they don't necessarily go out that much, but they're perfectly happy to download a podcast.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
I'd love a way to get those people out to seeing our show more and seeing more theater in general.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. What do you think?
No, that's a really good point. I guess I asked a question that I don't really have a good answer to. I've just been thinking, I know we've done we've performed at certain festivals, and we've done it's all been done after dark, and we've done classic, and I guess I feel I'm always trying to think of what if there's another good idea.
You've been in it since the comic book days.
Yes, I have.
So tell me how do those audiences and how does the feel of those live shows compare?
It is really different. Like you said, it was a necessary, but it is a very because when we were in the comic book shop, like you said, it was very humble, the lights were on so you could see everyone and see how they're reacting. Now it's kind of there's bright lights, and it feels more like a classic theater thing. If I don't get a big reaction that I can audibly hear, I don't necessarily know how people are reacting to it. Unless I really.
So it was a more intimate setting before.
Yeah,
and you were
it was.
able to gauge. Because, let's be honest, the audience, and I don't know that most audience members know that, but when you're watching a live performance, the audience absolutely affects how the performance turns out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it definitely, it makes me feel good when, they are reacting, and it's, when they're not, I'm always oh, what do I do now, to amp it up, or, yeah, so that's a really good point. It's definitely been different, and I guess I kind of, over time have forgotten what it was those first few days, just in a comic book, shop. Like you said, I think that was more where we would find theater going
the comic
audience.
book fans and the Star Trek fans and all of that. You know, nerd culture is very much a thing.
Yeah, who can really appreciate oh, this is a parody of Star Trek, and I love Star Trek, so I get the references.
Yeah, exactly. Granted, I have plenty of friends who love nerdy things and who also love theater, but I think a way of getting people who love Star Trek and who love comic books and who maybe don't see a lot of live theater to sort of know what this show has to offer.
Yeah. So I guess in that vein, do you have a favorite performance that you've ever done, whether that be theater or with IABD or anything? Do you have a favorite performance ever, or performances?
My favorite thing to perform is musical theater. With work and scheduling and stuff like that, it's been a while since I've been able to, have a large role in a musical, but that's definitely something that I miss doing and would like to get back into. So, What was your favorite performance from school?
There's two for sort of different reasons. They were the last two ones that I did at school. One we did was Tartuffe, and that was gratifying for a lot of reasons, because I had read Tartuffe, and I was oh, I really want to be in this someday, and I want to be Marianne. And then a couple years later, they picked the show, and I got cast in that role.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it was cool. We all had it was written a while ago by Moliere, but we sort of made it more modern, and we each had a color scheme. So mine was pink. I had a big pink bow around my waist.
Awesome.
Yeah, we all were kind of encouraged to be cartoon characters. So we studied movement and clowning, and we learned how to do really exaggerated physical movement. So the whole thing felt like a cartoon, which I really enjoyed. And I also worked building the sets too. So that was one of my favorite sets. So it felt really neat to I felt really passionate about the role, and I felt really passionate about how the set looked, so I felt like I played a big hand in that.
Awesome.
Another one that I did my senior year, we were like roughing it a little bit more than like, you know, when you have all this like money and resources. But a friend of mine wrote this experience of a young woman in Hitler's Europe, and she like visited concentration camps and she met with Holocaust survivors.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she asked me to be in that, and I was portraying like an actual Holocaust survivor who's like still alive. So that was a really neat show because
couldn't be more different from wearing a big pink bow around your waist.
Right, yeah. That's why I had to like pick two because they're like so different. The one was very like, you know. Last question, it was another one that you asked. I thought it would be cool to end it like that. But what's a major turning point in your life, and what would you do over?
Oh God.
It's like that intense.
That's a big question with a probably long-winded answer. So
yeah,
how do we sign off? Just like, thanks everybody for listening. Well, it's been fun. We'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
It's All Been Done Radio, our number 205. Meet the cast number 30 when Katie met Karen. Starred Katie Boissoneault and Karen Perta. Please check out our website, it's allbeendoneradiohour.com, and support us at patreon.com/IABD. Have a good week.
I didn't write any questions. I figured we'd just like pick a topic
fine.
we both want to talk about, and like, how are we doing on time?
We're at 2:16.
2:16?
Yeah. Is that, we started at 1:15?
15,
right?
yeah. Time like
That's
yes,
crazy.
let's do like, well, I know, it just doesn't feel that long, does
Yeah.
it? Let's, we can do one or two questions, and then Jimmy, you can take what you like.
Yeah.
And then we can sign off here, probably.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
It's All Been Done presents.
Who's got the time?